There are moments in life when you look at the road ahead and realize you do not know where you are going. You wake up with plans, with goals, with dreams, but something inside you whispers, there must be more than this. You see, human wisdom can only take you so far. The mind can strategize, but it cannot see the unseen. The heart can desire, but it cannot discern the hidden path. That is why you must allow God to lead you every single day of your life. Because when God leads you, even the wilderness becomes a way. When God leads you, even the impossible bends to His command. When God leads you, confusion turns into clarity, weakness turns into strength, and fear turns into faith. Too many people live as though they are their own guide. They wake up and chase what they want. They fight for what they think they deserve. They plan without asking. They move without listening. And they end up wondering why peace never comes. But a person who allows God to lead them does not live in confusion. They may walk through storms, but they walk with direction. They may be surrounded by noise, but they move in silence. Because they know that God's leadership is not about speed, it's about purpose. It's not about what looks right, it's about what is right. When God leads you, He will sometimes take you through valleys not to punish you, but to prepare you. He will close doors not to limit you, but to protect you. He will delay certain things not to deny you, but to develop you. When you allow God to lead you, you stop fighting the process and start trusting the purpose. Every day is a new battlefield. The mind is pulled in many directions. The world shouts its opinions. People project their expectations. And anxiety creeps into the soul. But there is one thing that will always silence the chaos. When you surrender your steps to God, because God does not need your strength, He needs your submission. He does not require your control, He desires your trust. When you wake up and say, God, I do not know what this day holds, but I know you hold it, that is when the supernatural begins to flow. That is when doors open that no man can shut. That is when peace enters that no storm can destroy. The problem is not that God is silent. The problem is that we are too loud. We are too busy talking, too busy worrying, too busy planning, too busy trying to fix what only God can fix. But if you would just pause, if you would just be still and allow Him to lead, you would realize that His direction is always better than your decision. Allowing God to lead you is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is not passivity, it is power. Because you are acknowledging that you do not see the full picture, but He does. You are saying, I may not understand why this happened, but I trust the one who knows why. You are declaring, even when I can't trace the pattern, I can trust the plan. This is not blind faith. It is sacred faith. It is the kind of faith that moves mountains, calms storms, and builds nations. It is the kind of faith that does not crumble when life shakes you, because it stands on something unshakable. God's leading. When you allow God to lead, your steps will confuse those who don't understand your spiritual rhythm. They will wonder why you're calm when others are panicking. They will wonder why you're silent when others are shouting. They will wonder why you walk away from opportunities that seem perfect. But what they do not see is that you are being led by a divine compass. They do not understand that your timing is not determined by the world's clock. It is aligned. It is aligned with God's season. And when God leads you, you begin to value obedience over opportunity. You stop chasing everything that shines and start waiting for what's divine. Because not everything that looks good is sent by God. Sometimes the enemy decorates distractions to look like blessings. But when you allow God to lead, you will see through the disguise. You will discern what others cannot detect. You will walk with an inner knowing that cannot be taught. It can only be received from above. To allow God to lead you every day means to begin each morning in surrender, not in strategy. It means before you move, you pause. Before you decide, you pray. Before you speak, you listen. Because when you put God first, everything else falls into divine order. You will notice that even the smallest choices begin to align with purpose. You will sense His whisper saying, "Go here." You will feel His nudge saying, "Not now." You will experience moments where everything inside you says yes, but God says, "Wait." And you will learn that waiting on God is never wasted time. It is preparation time. He leads you not only by direction, but by delay. He leads you not only by open doors, but by closed ones. He leads you not only by clarity, but sometimes by silence. Because sometimes God's silence is not absence. It is instruction. It is His way of training your ear to trust His timing. Many people pray for God's blessings, but reject His leading. They want His promises without His process. They want His rewards without His requirements. But when you allow God to lead you, you accept that His way is higher than yours. You stop asking why and start saying thank you. Because even when it hurts, it helps. Even when it confuses, it completes. Even when it delays, it delivers. God does not lead you to break you. He leads you to build you. He does not lead you to frustrate you. He leads you to free you. Sometimes His path will take you through uncomfortable places to stretch your faith. Sometimes He will remove people you love to make room for what you need. Sometimes He will strip away what you thought you couldn't live without, to show you that all you ever needed was Him. Allowing God to lead means allowing Him to redefine your comfort zone. When you let God lead, your vision changes. You stop seeing obstacles as threats and start seeing them as tests. You stop viewing delays as denials and start recognizing them as divine timing. You stop fighting against the current and start flowing with His will. You understand that not everything that happens is meant to destroy you. Some things are designed to develop you. You may not see it in the moment, but every step, every detour, every disappointment carries a lesson that is shaping your destiny. God's leadership is never random. He does not make mistakes. If He took you there, it's because there is something for you to learn there. If He allowed it, it's because He intends to use it. So don't resist His leading, reverence it. To be led by God is to walk by faith, not by sight. Sight will deceive you, faith will direct you. Sight will tell you the path is blocked. Faith will tell you God can make a way. Sight will focus on what you lost. Faith will see what's coming. Sight looks at the visible, faith trusts in the invisible. That is why you must allow God to lead every part of your day. Not just the big moments, but the small ones too. Because sometimes the smallest decisions carry the greatest consequences. Sometimes one wrong conversation, one emotional reaction, one impatient move can alter your path. But if you let God lead even in the small moments, how you respond, how you speak, how you think, you begin to walk with divine discipline. You begin to carry a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by circumstances. The world will tell you to trust yourself, but self-trust without divine guidance leads to self-destruction. You are not meant to be your own God. You are meant to be guided by God. When you lean on your own understanding, you will make decisions out of fear, pride, or impatience. But when you lean on divine direction, you will make decisions out of wisdom, peace, and clarity. Let God lead you through the unknown. Do not demand to see the whole map. Just follow the next step. Because faith does not reveal the entire journey. It only illuminates the next move. God reveals just enough to keep you dependent, just enough to keep you humble, and just enough to keep you trusting. That is how He trains your spirit to walk by faith and not by sight. When you let God lead, you stop competing with others and start cooperating with purpose. You stop comparing your timeline with theirs. You stop worrying about who is ahead or behind, because you know you are exactly where you are meant to be. You understand that divine timing cannot be rushed or delayed. What is meant for you will find you when you are ready, not when you are restless. Allowing God to lead means trusting His calendar more than your clock. It means saying, even if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen when it's supposed to. Because when you follow divine timing, you are never late. You are perfectly aligned. There are days when you will feel lost, when you will not hear a clear answer, when everything around you seems uncertain. But that is when you must trust God the most. That is when you must remember that His silence is not abandonment, it is direction in disguise. Sometimes He hides Himself not to punish you, but to purify you. He allows silence so that you will learn to listen to the stillness within. Because true guidance is not always loud. It's often quiet. It's not always in the thunder. Sometimes it's in the whisper. When you are sensitive to the voice of God, even the smallest sign becomes a message. Even the simplest moment becomes divine. To allow God to lead you every day means to stop forcing what's not flowing. Stop chasing what keeps running. Stop trying to revive what God is trying to remove. When He leads, He will not always tell you why. He will simply tell you to go. And that's where your faith must rise. Because obedience without understanding is the highest form of trust. It's easy to follow when everything makes sense, but real faith begins when logic ends. Real faith is saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I know God is leading me. And when you move with that kind of faith, doors open that you never even knocked on. People appear that you never even searched for. Opportunities align that you never even imagined. Because God leads those who trust Him more than they trust their own reasoning. When you truly allow God to lead you every day, something remarkable begins to happen inside you. The noise of the world grows faint, and the voice of God grows louder. The pull of fear weakens, and the strength of faith rises. You stop reacting to life, and you start responding to divine instruction. You begin to notice that the things that used to shake you no longer have the same power. You begin to walk through storms without panic because you know who is guiding your steps. When God is leading you, even the unpredictable becomes purposeful. Even what you did not plan becomes part of a greater plan. You no longer question every setback because you know that behind every obstacle lies a hidden lesson. You no longer fear change because you know that God's direction often comes through redirection. Letting God lead every day is not just a decision. It is a discipline. It requires daily surrender. It requires the humility to say, I do not know what is best for me, but God does. It requires the maturity to admit that your plans are not always perfect, but God's will is flawless. You see, the human heart often believes it knows what it needs. But there is a difference between what you want and what will sustain you. There is a difference between what looks good and what leads to peace. And only God can reveal that difference. When you follow your own understanding, you may reach what you desire, but lose what truly matters. But when you allow God to lead, you may not always get what you expect, but you will always receive what your soul truly needs. The challenge is that human nature resists surrender. We like control. We like certainty. We like to plan the outcome before we take the first step. But the path of divine guidance is not a straight road. It is a sacred walk of faith. God will not show you every detail because He wants you to learn trust, not just knowledge. He will not give you the full picture because He wants you to depend on His voice every single day. If He showed you everything at once, you would stop seeking Him. So He reveals His will in fragments, in whispers, in seasons, just enough to keep you near Him. Every morning, you must return to that posture of surrender and say, lead me again, God. Direct me again today. Because guidance is not a one-time event. It is a continual relationship. And when you live in that daily relationship with divine guidance, peace becomes your companion. You no longer chase it. It follows you. Because peace is not found in knowing every answer. Peace is found in knowing who holds every answer. When God leads, you may not always understand the path, but you will always sense the peace. That peace is the signature of divine leadership. It's that calm assurance in your spirit that tells you, even though I don't have everything figured out, I am exactly where I am meant to be. It's the silent confidence that whispers, God is still in control, and that peace will protect you from despair. It will guard your mind from overthinking and your heart from fear. When God leads, He will sometimes take you out of what is familiar to show you what is greater. He will call you away from comfort to prepare you for calling. The people around you may not understand it. They may say you are making a mistake. But when you are led by divine wisdom, you will not always be understood because the ways of God are not the ways of man. When God leads you, He will sometimes remove you from circles that no longer align with your purpose. He will close doors that others are begging to open. He will isolate you for a season.